So today let's talk about social media in Russia and what the Russian government is doing to US-based social media networks. Because I think people who follow my work are already very well aware of how Twitter and Facebook are not neutral actors. They're not benign tech companies that are just providing a platform for people to communicate on. We all know that there's an agenda and that these platforms have been weaponized. We know that Facebook and Twitter and Google and YouTube, we all know, like, before the Arab Spring, a couple of years before the Arab Spring, they were working with the US State Department to train, equip, and prepare agitators in the US to be sent back to their countries to target and overthrow their governments. And we remember in 2011, at the beginning of the Arab Spring, the crucial role social media played in creating the psychological momentum behind these movements that helped stampede governments either out of power or helped stampede unrest into extreme violence, which was followed by war that has wiped entire countries off the map. Libya, for example, Yemen, another example. And so when you have these social media networks in your country and they're being used as a political weapon against your government and the stability of your society, it's something that you have to take serious because, like I just said, they have helped start a process that could potentially wipe an entire country off the map. So when Russia does this, just keep that in mind. Keep that context in mind. This is from RT, which is Russian media. Months after Twitter shadow bans RT, Putin signs law to fine and block social media giants that censor Russian media sources. And so basically what they're saying is if you want to operate inside Russia, you have to treat Russia fairly. You can't operate and benefit from being in Russian markets, but then shadow ban Russian media. You're not doing that to the Western media. The Western media has, we know for a fact, has lied about things to help sell wars that have killed tens of thousands of people. And Twitter and Facebook seem to have no problem with that at all. And those media networks, not only are they given impunity to operate, uh, they're promoted. They're eagerly promoted. The networks are designed specifically to amplify messages from those networks. Even if you're not following them, you will find their stuff in your timeline from time to time or on the sidebar being promoted. So I thought this was interesting. This is legislation that if you're a social media company operating in Russia and you're doing this, if you're trying to censor or restrict access to Russian media, and you don't have a really a good reason to do it except political motivations, they will restrict or ban you from operating within Russian markets. And I think between this and Russia's strategy of creating their own, tech companies like Yandex and VK. These are alternatives to Google and Facebook, respectively, and making those more popular than either Google or Facebook. This is their a broad strategy to control their own information space, and every country should do this. Every country has their physical territory, they have airspace, they have their shores, they have their land borders, and they protect that. And now it's the 21st century, and we cannot deny the impact and power of information and the internet. And every country now has information space. That information is flowing within. And yes, they're interconnected all around the globe, just like waterways, roadways, airways, but you have to be able to protect your own information space. So this is a strategy that Russia is using. I would say it's a successful strategy. I would say look at China. They also have a very successful strategy. And I'm starting to notice other countries around the globe, smaller countries, that are adopting variations and mixtures of these strategies to kind of help protect, establish some sort of protection for their own information space. Because if not, you'll end up like Libya or Egypt or Yemen or Syria. And this is, of course, I'm talking about Thailand. this is something that Thailand definitely needs to start thinking about and doing. And so, if people are aware that other countries already have solutions to these problems, they could start talking about it, and they can start asking people in Thailand responsible for these sort of things to start thinking about it and to maybe start doing it. Really big companies in Thailand that definitely have the resources to do something like this. And again, it's not that you immediately kick Facebook and Twitter out of your country. You wouldn't do that. You would do like what Russia did. You create your own alternative, you promote it, you make it more popular, and then when it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when Facebook and Twitter start to overstep their bounds, you know, you don't just have legal tools as leverage over them. You also have the fact that there's alternatives for people in the country to use. Anyone still in the country using American based social media networks or US based tech solutions, they're going to know that if something happens to them, the country has alternatives for people to turn to. So it's extra leverage. And maybe US companies will actually start to just do business with other countries instead of what this is that they're doing, this incessant meddling and interference. So it's just a way of protecting your information space. So I'm glad to open the news and see Russia doing that. And it will be interesting to follow this story. And of course, I will be following this and updating everybody on this as there's developments. The information war is is as serious and as important as trade wars or actual wars. So let's keep an eye on that. So to my patrons who make these videos possible, thank you very much. If you're watching this video when I post it publicly, please like and share the video and also subscribe to the channel. It's totally free to do and it helps the channel grow and I really appreciate that. And to everybody who has been helping me in absolutely every way, no matter what you're doing, big or small, thank you so much. I couldn't do it without my audience. And as always, thank you for watching.